Hello everyone, we've got a representations of data and mean and standard deviation kind of question here. So it says each member of a group of 27 people was timed when completing a puzzle. The time taken in X minutes for each member of the group was recorded. These times are summarized in the following box and whisker plot. Find the range of these times. Now, a common error here in this question is to exclude the outliers. So the common mistake is that people would say that the range is from 40 all the way down here to 7, where in fact the range is still starting at 68. So even though 68 is an outlier, we do still include it when we're calculating the range. So therefore the range of times is in fact going to be 68, this outlier here, take away 7. Find the interquartile range. Well, that's just going to be upper quartile, take away lower quartile. So part B is just going to be 25, take away 14. So that is going to be 11 for that one. Now, for these 27 people, sigma x is 607.5 and sigma x squared is 17,623.25. Calculate the mean time taken to complete the puzzle. So x bar is going to equal sigma x over sigma f. So our sigma x is 607.5 and our sigma f is the number of people, which is 27 people. So we work out our mean, that turns out to be 22.5. So 22.5 is our mean there for part C. Part D, calculate the standard deviation. Oh, that's really nice. So nice little question, this one. So we've got that the standard deviation is going to be the mean of the squares minus the square of the mean, square rooted. So we're going to have sigma x squared over n minus x bar all squared, square rooted. Now we've calculated x bar, just that is 22.5. So there's our x bar. Here, sigma x squared is this 17,623.25. divided by n, which is 27, and then we've got to square root that whole thing. Now, when we work that out on our calculators, that gives us 12.1 when we write that to 3 significant figures. Okay, all right. So that's part D there. So we've done part A, B, C, and D. Now, 𝗏 defines an outlier as a value that is more than 3 standard deviations above the mean. State how many outliers 𝗏 would say that there are in these data, giving a reason for your answer. Okay, so 𝗏 is basically saying that an outlier is something that is the mean, if I just write mu to stand for the mean, plus 3 lots of the standard deviation. Okay, well, our mean we've calculated to be 22.5, there we go. And we're going to have 3 lots of the standard deviation, which we've just found is 12.1 down here. So 12.1, okay. So we've got to work that out. Let's see what that gives us. So that is 22.5 plus 3 times 12.1, okay, which is 58.8. So we're going to say, maybe, well, I'll write it down as 58.8. So 58.8, or we could say 59, depending on what degree of accuracy we're rounding it to. So it says, yes, state how many outliers there would be in these data. So let's have a look and see what the data says. Oh, right, here we are. So our outlier threshold is 58.8. So in other words, here what I'm indicating with the cursor now on the screen, this sort of like 58.8, anything above that is going to be an outlier. So you can see we've only got this one outlier according to the threshold that 𝗏's come up with. So there is, we're going to say for part E, there is only one outlier. Only one outlier, just that one at the end. Okay, now Adam and Beth are also completing a puzzle in A minutes and B minutes respectively. When their times are included with these data of the 27 people, the median time increases and the mean time does not change. Suggest a possible value for A and a possible value for B, explaining how your values satisfy the above conditions. Right, let's have a think about this then. So let's first of all talk about the median time, okay? So the median time increases. So what that is suggesting is that both of the values must be greater than 20. But why is that the case? Let's have a think about that. Well, when we're finding the median, what in its crudest sense, we've got all the raw data kind of like listed out. So we've got some numbers like this, and we're trying to find the median. So we like cross off the smallest, cross off the biggest, cross off the next smallest, cross off the next biggest, and so on, until we reach the median in the middle. Okay. Now, if one of the data values between A and B was less than the median, it kind of like doesn't matter where it is. Let's say we had a new value here, and then say one of the values was above. That again, it doesn't matter where it is. You put it there. Then when you do your crossing off, if one is below the median and one is above the median, then basically you end up with the same median that you had before in the middle. Okay, so if we have one that's less than 20 and one that's greater than 20, we still end up with 20 as the median. Okay, but they're saying that, and likewise, if both of the values were less than 20, then there would be a new median that would be over here. So the fact that they're saying that the median time has increased, what that suggests is that both of these new values must be greater than 20. Because if we add two new values that are both greater than 20, then when we kind of like do our crossing off in order to approach our median, the new median is going to be further to the right. Okay, the median will have increased. But the crucial thing is, if one is smaller and one is bigger, there's no change in the median. So the thing that we can conclude is that the median time increases means that both A and B must be greater than 20. Okay, so that's the first thing. Now, it says suggest possible values for A and B, explaining how your above values satisfy these conditions. Now, the next thing is the mean time does not change. Now, this is interesting. So the mean is 22.5. Okay, and that was got from having our 607.5 divided by our 27. Okay, so what we're going to do now is this is not going to change at all, but we're now going to have two new pieces of data. So let's see what happens. The mean does not change, 22.5, but we now have, we don't know what this new value is going to be, but it's divided by 29. So let's do 22.5 times by 29. So 22.5 times by 29 is 652.5. So 652.5. Now, if we take away our 607.5, the original one, so take away our 607.5, then we get 45. Okay, so what we can basically say is that we know that A plus B must equal 45. Okay, because the mean has to stay the same, so it stays as 22.5, but instead of 27 pieces of data, we've now got 29. So when you times those together, that instead of being 607 is 652.5. But then when we take away that 607, the original one, we get 45. Okay, so we know that A plus B must equal 45. And we know that A has got to be greater than B. So we could just say, for example, A could be 24 and B could be equal to 21. Or anything like that. We could say that A is 25 and B is 20. But any two numbers that add together in order to give us 45 would be acceptable there for that one. Okay. So yeah, quite a little bit of thought there. Okay, and again, actually, we couldn't say, a moment ago I said we could have 25 and 20. That's not true, because we remember previously we required that both A and B need to be greater than 20. So perhaps a stronger pair would be to say something like 24 and 21, because that meets both criteria. It's both greater than 20, and that combination, when we combine them, still gives us a mean of 22.5. Okay. Now it says, without carrying out any further calculations, explain why the standard deviation of all 29 times will be lower than your answer in part D. So our our mean was 22.5. Okay. So 22.5. I know I am kind of doing a calculation here, but Our mean is 22.5. Our standard deviation was 12.1. Okay. So if you can see, we've got our mean 22.5 plus the 12.1 is 34. So basically what we're saying is both of these values are less than 1 standard deviation away from the mean. Okay, so they're both less than 1 standard deviation away from the mean. So if we've got our data here and we add 2 new values, and both of the values that we add are less than 1 standard deviation away from the mean, then basically that's going to have the overall effect of reducing the standard deviation. Okay, so it says, without carrying out any further calculation, explain why the standard deviation of all 29 times will be lower than your answer in part D. And the answer is, as both A and B lie within less than 1 standard deviation from the mean, the overall standard deviation will be reduced. Yeah, quite an involved little thought-provoking question there. I hope you found that helpful. Remember, as always, if you could subscribe to my channel, that's going to really help me keep on making videos moving forward. And yeah, thank you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.